everyone, welcome back to Painted Studio. I am Maury Curtis Dunbar, forever adjusting my shoulder straps on my apron, and welcome back to us. All right, I am here in the studio. It's Tuesday, it's sunny out. We're having horrible rainstorms starting tomorrow, but that doesn't matter today, except that it's just a tad bit humid. So we're dealing with a little bit of crazy hair. We're dealing with a little bit of things drying slowly. Doesn't matter, we're gonna have some fun. All right, so I'm gonna scroll. Hey Minetta, nice to see you. All right, I'm gonna scroll the camera down here. And the first thing we're gonna do, and we're gonna do two different stone finishes today as we're doing this. Now, I will be opening up my Facebook page, which is, you see my hand here, my Facebook page is, my iPad is over here. So I'm gonna try to keep track of my live here. Hopefully I can see myself. Maybe I turn my volume down just so I don't have to listen to me anymore. Then I don't necessarily want to listen to myself. It's not entertaining to me. All right, now I can see you. Hi Minetta, thank you for the hello. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do two stone finishes today. We're going to be working with Faux Effects Plastertex, and we're going to be working with Artsyville Texture Medium. We're going to show you two different stone effects that you can get, and this is going to be fun. So the first thing I did is took pieces, these are 1 foot pieces of trim, get them at Home Depot. I use them for furniture classes all the time. Sanded off the rough spots and primed them with a faux, which iPad do you have? I have no idea. Don't ask me, Minetta. I know I don't know the right one because I bought the wrong size cover for it. All right, so we primed the wood with set coat chamois or chamois, depending on whether you're using the French or, believe it or not, the Australian pronunciation. I actually looked it up today so I would be saying it correctly, because just because I think I know it doesn't mean I do. But I went in and of course I Googled and went down the rabbit hole of the history and the goat skin and all of that stuff, but that's more than we wanted to know. So I put a single coat on here because I needed a base coat. If you are starting on a light, you don't necessarily have to use set coat. Set coat is my go-to. I love chamois as a color. It's a great one. All right, and then the next thing we're gonna do, I think we're gonna start with our Artsyville Texture Medium. Oh, thank you, Minetta. I appreciate the sprinkles. Everybody sprinkle the love around. That helps us grow, because at the end of this week, we are announcing a contest that will have to do with sprinkles. So the more sprinkles, the better the contest. All right, so I'm just taking an old chip brush and dipping it into the can. And I'm smearing it all over here. Yes, we're using the very technical decorative painting term of a smear. I could do this with a roller too, but I just want to share how that you can actually brush this stuff on. And of course I'd be brushing it easier if I didn't have the piece of plastic in there. Piece of plastic sits down all the way to the surface of my plasters, all of them that I store, because it helps them stay fresher and creamier longer. Now this is the bottom of a can, so it's a little thicker than I'm used to. I could have thinned it down, but we're just gonna work with what we got because it'll work for us. All right, so I am literally smearing this stuff all over the wood. I just want to fill in all the crevices. And get the edges. And then I'm coming back and pouncing. And this is why I'm using a chip brush versus any other brush. I don't want it smeared on perfectly. I don't want the application perfect. I want it to stay kind of goopy, for want of a better word. They get a little thick, built up a little too thickly down there in that crevice. So I just scoop it out, go back and pounce it. And this is why you want an old chip brush. You don't want anything happening on here that's really regular and organized. You don't want to see your method of application, otherwise referred to as an MOA, for those not familiar. And my assistant's going to take this back and put it in the hot box. Hot box. Hot box. And for those not familiar with either my assistant or the hot box, all right, let me see if I can get him so you can see him. There's my assistant, and there he is putting it in the hot box. Hot box is a temporary small dryer that I built in here in the studio. I got great directions from another finisher. That allows me during moments like this, like a live or a classroom, to encourage quicker heating, quicker drying. I have a fan attached to a hose that's attached to a heater, and it all blows hot air into a small hydroponic grow tent. No, there's nothing interesting growing in there other than the paint drying. All right, so, and if anybody wants directions for that, I have the original creator's permission to give them out. So I will message them to you. I'm not publishing it here. This is definitely not an OSHA approved hot box, so just be aware of that. It is a creation of necessity. All right, back down here. Hey Shane, nice to see you here. Okay, so we're back here. Minetta, you're gonna have to message me because I will not remember once I finish this and move on to the next thing. I have the memory of a hamster right now. So if you want me to remind you to send that to you, I gotta remember, somebody's gotta remind me. All right, so the next product we're using is Faux Effects Plastertex. Okay, now Plastertex is different from Texture Medium in that Plastertex has a aggregate in there that's sort of brown, a little crusty, and Plastertex is interior and exterior rated, which Texture Medium is not. So I like to offer options if you wanted to do a similar finish outside. Well, you're gonna need a product that's rated for the outside, and Plastertex is. And if you look up close, you can see that little bit of dark grit in there, which is great for the second finish we're gonna do, which is going to start out looking nearly identical to the first, with the exception of the product change. And I'll tell you why I chose each one as we get to it. So this one, I'm kind of doing a light stone finish. I go to Washington a lot. I have family there, and there's a great furniture store in Alexandria, Old Town, that I go to, and they had dressers, armchairs, nightstands, side tables, couch tables, all done in what looked sort of like a concrete-y finish. And I'm gonna go back again with my chip brush and pounce it. And if you notice when I'm pouncing, it doesn't kind of pop up just as quite as high as the Texture Medium does, and that's exactly why I chose this. This will leave in one layer a low stone finish. Okay, so I'll hold that up close so you can see it. But they were selling these concrete-y finished pieces for like $6,000. So here we already have a great stone finish, and that's gonna sit, and we're gonna let that dry. Tor, would you put that in the hot box for me? My assistant is reaching over the table and putting in the hot box. This is why I make him things like the Cthulhu shirt you saw the other day. Okay, so here is our next step, and then I'm going to give it to my son to put it in the hot box, because I should have probably had this, at least one of these done before we started. All right, let me grab a little bit of a trowel here. And I'm back. Okay, so this one's going to be more of a pitted coral. And as you saw on the first layer, we pounced it on and then Sorry, I'm putting my buckets and lids back together, and I don't want to drop anything. All right, so you saw in the first pass that we had just sort of pounced on the product, got a lot of texture built up. Actually, yeah, that's the right one. Sorry, I thought I almost grabbed the wrong one. But if you look close, even though there's texture, if there's little dark bits of stuff on here, it's just stuff that came from my table. There is no other aggregate in here, so it's going to dry and create an aggregate. This is not an FE product. This is our Artsyville texture medium. Today we're using Artsyville texture medium, and we're using Faux Effects Plastertex. So we're working with the two products. And I'm going back in my bucket. I'm removing all the cruddy plastic. And I'm going to scoop out a little bit of this. You see, just a little bit. And this is an old Target gift card. And let me grab my brushes. I'm going to take some of this off of here and smear it around a little bit. Because again, like I said, we're going to do a kind of a broken coral finish. So the finish is going to be pitted and uneven, and that's okay. So I'm using this as a trowel because it's flexible and I can kind of scrape it over areas that I can't use any other kind of trowel to make happen. So coral is usually, it was a living creature. Coral was, when you see it and it's white like this, it was alive, and it's not anymore. So we're gonna kind of smooth out a lot of this, and I can smooth this with my finger if I don't like the way it's going, because I can come back in and sand stuff down, remove some of the highs, remove some of the lows, or I can bury the lows if I want to. Okay. And this technique actually, it's harder the way I'm doing it now because I've got a multi-curved dimensional surface. It would be easier to do it, believe it or not, on a canvas or a flat surface. I have done this on both. But I do love the way it looks when I get it going just right for furniture too. And obviously I have no fear of sticking my fingers in stuff. My fingers are often the best tool I have. And I'll use my fingers in conjunction with all kinds of stuff if I want it on a specific way. It's a reason I get my nails done, because I use my nails as tools too. Tools, sorry. Wow, that was a very interesting way of pronouncing things. I use my nails as tools too. All right. Now, hopefully, because I normally have this second layer done on another board, I actually have it sitting over here, and I didn't do it ahead of time. I goofed. I meant to, but I didn't. So that we could go on to the wash stage, but I'm going to give this to my very tall, very polite assistant in a minute and ask him to shove it in the hot box. And I'm very specifically working to leave pits in this. You can make it as pitted or as unpitted as you want. So we already have texture and tone on here. Hey Terry, nice to see you there. Hey Rima and Maddie, nice to see you all. So we've got this nice texture already created. Tor, would you stick that back in the hot box? Thank you.
Sorry for the finger smears.
Don't worry about it. It's all gonna get sanded down. My son worries about finger smears. This coming from me. He's worried about finger smears. Bless his heart. All right, now here is what the Plastertex looks dried. It's whitish, you can see, but it's got that great gritty texture to it, and it's got the black on there that you can see that's showing up. Tor, would you bring me a piece of sandpaper, please? It's right there by the sink. So while he grabs a piece of sandpaper, I'm going to take a little piece of paper towel, wipe off my finger. There's it right there. Thank you. It's nice having my assistant here today. He's been a very helpful person. I'm actually not asking a whole lot of him today. I've worked his butt so hard the last few weeks. I'm just leaving him in peace. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do, after I move all the mediums out of my way, put that over there. All right, so we've got this. So this one is actually ready to go to the next step. It's dry. We're gonna take a little sandpaper and knock off any high spots, but also what the sanding does is it exposes some of that aggregate for that really nice gritty look. And again, this is the Plastertex sample. You see, anytime you sand, you always want to wipe down because you don't want any of the extra crud that you created from sanding. So look, it's already got that nice sandy texture. And I could leave it as it is right now and just seal it up and it would be awesome, but I want a little bit of tone and texture to this. So this we're going to do a couple of light colors washed over it. So we're going to make a mess here on the table. What else is new? But since I have my little, just want to get all the crud out of the way so that when I'm mixing up colors on this board, I don't make a mess. So I'm going to take a little bit of the white. Oops. Got to shake it down a little bit. I have some older colors of faux cream colors, but you can use anybody's pigments for this. And of course, it doesn't want to work today. Why? Because I'm doing it on camera. Sorry. Oh, come on. There we go. I knew it was down there. Just a little bit of white. And we're going to take a little bit of earth brown. And this is Faux earth brown. You take a little bit of asphaltum transoxide faux cream color. And I think we'll take a little bit of green. This is earth green. Now, why do I have them all smeared over here? Because we're going to take chip brush and water. And let me put this someplace where I'm not going to knock it over and that you all can still see. Let me zoom in just a little bit. So I'm going to wet my brush, squeeze it out. I don't want a ton of color. And first thing I'm going to do is dip in some white and just sort of pounce it all over. Very watery. And if I pick up any other color, I'm not sweating it. And this white is going to look like next to nothing on here because we're already working in white, except it will pick up as white highlights in a few places. And then I'm going to take a little water and just mist the entire surface. Why? Because this is going to help me with what I'm going to do with the bleeding of colors. So I'm going to take then a little bit of earth brown, very, very little. Very, very little earth brown. You barely see it on the tips of my bristles. And this is, when you get to this point, this is all a matter of blending. So you can put as much or as little color in here as you want. And if you're not sure where to place colors, go Google concrete, go Google limestone, go Google coral. It will help a lot. Okay, I'm putting a very, very tiny bit of green on here. And it looks super intense when I first put it on, and then I just keep pouncing it until it softens into next to nothing. I'm going to take a little bit of the asphaltum transoxide. Oh, I still have a lot of green on my brush. I'm going to take some of that green off. Let's get a little bit of asphaltum transoxide. Now, I have done stuff like this on entire walls. Bigger chip brushes, bigger spray bottles. I've done entire furniture pieces like this for customers. I have not really taught this finish before because I was doing it so much for my clients that I didn't have time to write it down. But I think on its own, look how great that is. Just super subtle. And if I don't like it that color, if I need to put in a little more beige, I just come in and put in a little more. I want a little bit of darkness coming in a couple pop spots. I just kind of work it in, you know, work it in. I can't even say work it in. All right, so I'm very, very happy with where that's going. And since we're waiting for the other board that I just finished to dry, we're going to do the similar look on this one so you can get an idea of exactly the difference. All right, starting out, this is already not as white and you don't have the contrast. I will do the same exact thing I did on the other one, which is sand it a little bit. And we'll make a darker stone out of this one. So this is our texture medium that I just stippled on like I did the Plastertex. As you can see, it has none of the dark grit. It's not as opaquely white, although there is a glob there. And I think we're gonna make a little bit of a darker stone out of this one because I gotta wait for that other one to dry. So I'm going for our earth brown. And again, I should have wet this down the whole thing, but I didn't, so. And wetting it down allows the colors to bloom across the surface. Yeah, this is awesome. You have opportunities to go from very light and very subtle to very dark and dramatic. But part of what I'm showing you here is just the difference in the way the materials grab onto this. This has got a little sharper relief. I'll show it up to you. You can see it's got a little sharper relief than the Plastertex does. You can see it's got a little more of that brush stroke, so you're going to get a little more of a gritty look to it, but the Plastertex has actual grit in it, just so you understand, so you get that little black bit of change when you sand it. The dark aggregate blooms up with the sanding, so you see those dark pigment, that little extra bit of dark pigment in your finish. And I got a stupid bristle right here and it won't come out. Ah, come on. There we go. I can get my fingers out of the finish and do a little more here. All right. So I'm going to go back in here into the asphaltum transoxide, and we're going to go for a darker look. So again, you can achieve similar looks, but each product has a different use, so you can get different kind of final looks out of it. And by the way, this is so easy to do with, as you can see, I'm not even thinking about it as I'm kind of doing this. I'm just sort of slapping stuff on here. And these are money-making finishes too, because you're doing them fast, they look expensive, you seal them up, they wear well, and you have created a fantastic look. All right, so this is just simply asphaltum transoxide and earth brown getting me this kind of an old crusty look. And look how awesome that is. And if I wanted to, I could add a little, I got all kinds of colors floating around. This is a little yellow ochre. So, come on, pop this open. So I'm gonna call this one Transformation Tuesday. We're gonna start theming all our names. We're gonna have Free Finish Friday. I'm already working on a finish, so tune in, be aware. We got some new stuff. We're upping our game a little bit. So today is Transformation Tuesday. And then I think we'll have Free Finish Friday, and don't ask me what Wednesday and Thursday and Saturday are gonna be. All right, so look at this. This is this just killer old world finish that took me all of a few minutes. This is a much more subtle finish on stone, but again, you know, this is drying awfully white. Am I happy with it that white? Probably not a little bit. I need a little more contrast in there. I'm just going back in and pumping in a little more. I just wanted a little more contrast on there. It was drying a little too white to make me happy. I just thought it looked a little bland. Just scrape up a little bit of the green too and pop in a little bit of color right there. Okay. Make sure my brush is nice and wet because that'll help me blend out the colors. And this is called adding washes, for those who are not familiar. Now, if I really wanted to get this, I could wash it, put all these, you know, put details in here, glaze it so that it all goes back into the crevices, but then it makes the texture too coarse. And I really like this just the way it is. So we've got two finishes. Tor, would you mind going back and seeing if, I'm having my assistant go back and seeing how dry that other board was that we just put in. Ooh, I am awfully close. You don't need to see me up. It's like looking up my nose. And he's going to tell me, bring it out to me, let me check it. Because if it's not dry, we might just have to put it aside. And, oh, I thought the paint was on my face, but it's actually on my camera lens. Oh well. Let's see how dry we are. You know what? We're still, we're a little tacky on there. I won't be able to get a good wash on it. So we're gonna put that a pin on that for now. I'll probably be back doing other things in a couple hours. I mean, it's not even 3 o'clock yet. I could do another live at 4, and we might do that. We'll catch up on that one. Again, look how cool that is. That just took me a minute. Look how cool this is. Again, just took me a minute. Now these are stone finishes. This is a little more coarse, a little more aggressive. And then we're gonna have our coral finish as soon as that's dry, which, give me about an hour. All right, everybody, have a great afternoon. Sprinkle the love around. Do not hesitate. All the products that you've seen me use today, we carry here at Painted Studio. If you don't happen to see them on the website, give me a call. It either means I haven't added it or we need to pick it up and bring it into you. All right, everybody, have a wonderful afternoon, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.